Okay everyone, I'd like for you to meet Casper. This is my 1971 Ford F100. As you can see, it is lettered up as like a vintage drag racer. I've got the inspiration for this build from searching on the internet, and I found something of pretty neat interest. So the 1963 Ford contracted a company in Detroit called Dearborn Steel Tubing Company to produce two F100s, okay, and they were called the F100 XL, and but pretty much it was a bare bones unibody F100 that came with a 427 high riser wedge engine. In factory trim, the truck ran in the BFX class, factory experimental, and from what I can see, the truck, they ran in the mid-12s at about 110 miles an hour or so. So you can see where the inspiration came from as far as the way this is lettered up. I'll give you a pop under the hood here. This is the heart of Casper. As you can see, it is a Ford Windsor engine, 393 cubic inch. Has a tunnel ram with two 600 Hollies. This been adapted to run on a Windsor block by the Price Motorsports adapter plate. And you can see my purpose for this build was I wanted to keep late model parts off of it. I wanted it to look vintage, you know, from the Mallory ignition system to the rubber hoses. I didn't want stainless braided lines on there, to the old school cool can here for the fuel. This engine on the dyno produced 575 horsepower at 6,500 RPMs and was still climbing. Actually, if I would have taken it to 7,000, I feel pretty confident that it would have surpassed 600 horsepower, but that's neither here nor there at this point. Breakdown of what the engine actually is. It is a D4 block with a scat cast crank, scat I-beam rods, Moly forged flat top pistons, 10.7 to 1 compression. Has a custom solid roller camshaft, 674 lift on both the intake and exhaust, 245 at 50 thousandths degrees duration, 253 degrees on the exhaust, and the cam's ground on a 108 lobe separation. The cylinder heads are unique in themselves as the fact that they were received as bare castings, and my really good buddy David Vizard was working on a small block Ford book at the time, and so he was doing some series of tests, and he needed an engine to try these heads on. And so when I told him that I was building a Stroker Windsor engine, he got really excited because it gave us a foundation to test the heads to see what they were capable of. The heads, as cast as 168 cc intake runner head, they flowed right at 265, 266 CFM, which is pretty good for what it was. But after we ported the heads, installed Fiera valves, 2.125 intake, 1.6 exhaust, we were able to get 315 CFM at 625 lift, which is pretty good considering that the intake runner was only 192 cc's in volume at that point. So the heads are pretty potent. I wanted to have the old school tunnel ram because there's a lot of naysayers out there, and this combination flat out works. I mean, this thing has power for days, and it has the torque to pull down a house. The drivetrain consists of a Ford C4 is built by Dynamic Racing. It is a Mighty Might M2 version. It is top of the line, fully rollerized with a 6-pin planetary gear set. Has a 9-inch converter in it that's 4500 stall. Has a mechanical diode instead of the traditional sprag that's found in the torque converter. Has a custom Denny's nitrous series drive shaft connecting to a Ford 9-inch rear end that has a strange center section with 433 gears with a G-force locker, strange axles, custom high-tough axles. So the drivetrain in the truck has been redone from basically the front to the back. Has disc brakes on the front because if you're going to go fast, you need some way of stopping it. As I said before, this truck does weigh 4,300 pounds with me in it as a race weight. And the best ET that it has ran thus far in the 8th mile has been a 741 at 93 miles an hour, and that's purely naturally aspirated. We're going to be doing a series of dyno tests. We're going to be doing some drag tests with this truck because I would love by the end of this season to get this truck into the 6s, into the 8th mile, naturally aspirated, with just basic know-how bolt-ons and just old school drag racing techniques, such as moving weight off of the front end to the rear. You know, the basic tricks of trying to lighten it up, do some free horsepower tricks, because as that run, that 741 is through full exhaust with fan, the whole 9 yards, the way that you see it here. Nothing was done to the engine or to the truck other than a set of Mickey Thompson drag radials. So as you can see, I paid tribute to my friend David Vizard on there. Prepared and tuned by the Wood Brothers. Of course, that's myself and my brother Steve, and you can see the Dynamic Racing Transmissions logo on the front there. Young Ford, that is actually the dealership in which this truck was bought new from in October of 1970. It is a 71 model, of course, but it came from Young Ford in Charlotte. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with this and seeing what we can turn it into. Everywhere I drive this truck, it gets tons of thumbs up, people want to talk about it, and people want to find out, you know, the details on the engine because of how it sounds. And when they see that tunnel ram, their eyes just explode. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy seeing Casper, and I hope you enjoy seeing what's going to be in store in upcoming episodes of Unity Motorsports Garage. Have a good night.